people. And we're going to talk about something really cool. Razi, you were not in your seat. But we're going to start with something really cool.
Oh.
And oh my God, it's Saturday morning. This is The Art of Rock. I want to thank everybody for joining me here. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Tongva people as being the traditional landowners of Los Angeles. Thank you for surviving, sincerely. Every week, every Saturday morning, we are here fumbling around, complaining about making music and how bloody hard it is, but yet awesome most of the time. That's Angelspit's Twitch, watch it there. And that's Angelspit's YouTube, you can watch it there. This is brought to you by Angelspit's Patreon. I cannot thank you bastards enough. Go join, it's there. And I just sent a copy of Dead Red End to everybody on the Patreon. And also Patreon supporters, so everybody just got a digital thing. If you're a member of the Patreon, I always send releases to you. So you can join for free, or you can pay as little as $3 a month. Yay! The new album, Red End. I am so happy with this fucking album. I think people like it. It's there, go get it. It's on fucking Bandcamp. Blah, 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 blah. There's some new, more amazing music there. On the Industrial Incisions playlist, incidentally, Brett, thank you for your tracks again. Other people owe me fucking tracks. So if you're on the Patreon, send me your goddamn track. We add it to there and everybody promotes each other. I'm telling you, this is how we're going to make it work. On Wednesday night, you've got to watch Vulture Culture. It's bloody awesome. Deep dive into synths. I haven't been there recently because Melody and I are trying to acclimatize our cats together and we're that's a full-time job. Alistair, good to see your face. I'm wearing the Scum shirt. So please support Alex in Vulture Culture because it's the best shit ever. It's great community. You learn about synths, and if you're crazy, you end up buying a synth. But if you're not crazy and drinking, you're going to look at what you already own and see how far you can push it. Talking about pushing it. Bad segue. This is MTV TV. Please go enjoy MTV TV. Your next favorite band is there. And if you've got music and you want to send it to them, your audience is there. You will become someone's new favorite band. Send them your videos. They've also got a Patreon. We've got to keep them going. I say this every week. Click on the fucking Patreon. Become a free member at least. It will be a fantastic thing, I promise. This country is fucking awesome, and it has a democracy worth fighting for, because that's what the founding founders said. They said, we'll have a democracy as long as we can keep it. Here's Eric. Join Indivisible and learn how you can keep the democracy of this bloody awesome country alive. If you want a social media thing that doesn't have an algorithm breathing down your neck, join darkmusic.net. It's full of goths. If there's just way too much internet going on in your life and you think you're getting addicted, Media Addicts Anonymous. It's serious. We need to take this seriously. Go check it out. Razi, thank you so much for co-hosting.
It is a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having us on the show.
There's a whole bunch of Razi stuff. Alex isn't here yet, but Alex will be jumping in. This is Alex's music. This is Brett's music. Adam will be shooting his mouth off in the blurbature, which we're always welcome. That's Adam's music. This is Ivan's music. Eric, do me a favor. Can you put your link to your music in the Zoom description? And I'm going to post that there. And also, with a bit of luck, Kerry will be joining us today. Eric, good to see your face, by the way. Kerry will be joining us. Before we start, I want to tell you a funny story. It's not really, it's a wonderful thing about LA that not many people know about Los Angeles. Even people inside Los Angeles don't know this about Los Angeles. Yes, unfortunately, it's got a crappy fucking political bent to it. So there's a place called Mariachi Plaza, and Mariachi Plaza is kind of east. I used to live near it, actually, and it's this fantastic place. It's a wonderfully culturally Latino area, and there's this plaza, and in the middle of the plaza there's a statue of one of the great mariachi dancers, and I have forgotten her name, unfortunately. There's lovely little kind of like hall dome thing. But every Saturday and Sunday, Mariachi Plaza is full of totally decked out mariachi musicians sitting around drinking coffee and tea. And what happens, I shit you not, is a car, usually a Tarago, pulls up, someone gets out of the Tarago and goes, I need a guitarist, a trumpeter, and a bass player. And in they go and they drive away. They drive away to a wedding or a birthday party or whatever. And then 3 hours later, they come back. The mariachi players come back. And this is going on all day long. And it is the most amazing thing to watch. And I've always joked that it looks like they're going, I need a shotgun, a machete, and a driver. And we're going to go do a bank. But it's just this beautiful part of Los Angeles culture. And all around that area, there's the best fucking Mexican you've ever had. There are shops where they have the mariachi costumes. And if you've ever seen a mariachi costume close up, they are so beautiful. They're works of art. And they have areas that are repair gear, like guitars and trumpets, etc., where you can make repairs yourself. It's probably one of the coolest music shops I've been to, because if you're into building instruments, like weird instruments, you need to go to these places, because they have like high tensile guitar keys and all this stuff. Fucking awesome. So that's Mariachi Plaza. Unfortunately, thank you very much. I'll post this in here as well, Brett. The incredibly sad thing about Mariachi Plaza is that, plus so many other amazing Latino areas of LA are now deserted, unfortunately, because of the ICE raids that have happened. So I really hope that once that gets sorted out, which we the good people are fighting to preserve, that will return. Raziel, did I see your hand just then? Okay. Thank you, Eveles. So what I want to talk about today, besides a really fun story, I bring this up because I just did I mixed a mariachi show on Thursday, which is, I think it's America's best queer and trans mariachi band called the Rainbow Mariachi. They are so good. My God, they're good. It's the funnest show I've ever done. It's so much fun. They're really good. Anyway, I want to talk about hurdles, because it's really fascinating that when you're writing music, you put a hurdle in front of you. and that hurdle might be, oh, I can't do this because I don't have the right piece of gear, or I'm not ready to do that, or you know how you put these things, these non-existent problems. So firstly, I want to hear, what are your non-existent problems, and what are your solutions to it? For example, one of my non-existent problems is that I feel that it's difficult. The thing about writing a song, which is really fantastic, is you are forced to make decisions. You've got to make decisions. And and that's why, you got to, I think, for me anyway, you've got to dedicate stuff to tape, as in record stuff down. But it's always, for me, not turning gear on is a problem I have. I have the best fucking phaser over there, and I never turn the fucking thing on. And I'm always looking for workarounds, and all I have to do is flick a switch. God. I spend a lot of time when I'm making music getting up, walking around the house, playing with Frank. It's not really procrastinating because I'm thinking about it. Sometimes I am procrastinating, but it's just interesting that I spend time putting a neurological mental problem in front of me that I have trouble jumping over. Like, I can't do this thing without this thing. You know what I mean? And I don't really need either of those because they're both balancing each other. Raziel, what are your thoughts on this?
You finally came on the thing that triggered me to understand what you were really getting at there, and I can at least relate. And my version of that is things aren't connected. Like, no, everything's not already plugged in. One of these things, like, I've only got a total of 24 channels on the thing. Some of those are stereo. Starts getting eaten up. Now I've only got 16 things plugged in, and the 17th thing isn't plugged in, so I can't write a song. I got to figure out what interface I need to upgrade to have 25, 26. So now I got 32 lines. I got rid of a mixer because it took up too much space. This is the world I've created for myself. So it's not really a problem. It's a design choice that I made years ago. But here we are. Maybe it's leisure time. Maybe it's just fun to shop also. I'm not buying a new channel, multi-channel mixer every time it happens, but it definitely gets in the way of, the intention at the moment is to go do something like record a thing. And then the distraction and the hurdle that isn't really there is you can just plug the thing in. I mean, I could find a place to plug the thing in. It's not the end of the world that it isn't already plugged in. But I start, going into a creative thinking process, getting taken up by how could I solve this instead of that problem that was.
So do you find that, Bryce, I see your hand, give me a sec. Do you find that you spend time thinking more about the gear, the sound, the studio, as opposed to the song itself?
Yeah, and it's not necessarily more time, but it's certainly there's a balance to be made consciously of how much time you need to spend designing your space and maintaining your nest and preening your feathers and doing all the things that keep the dust bunnies from taking over, becoming sentient and owning your studio, and how much time do you need to spend devising ways to not let that happen, so you get this meta level. So yeah, there's a balance of like what's the cost benefit ratio or diminishing returns or something that happens there when, yeah, there's some amount of that stuff that you should be doing and is healthy to do and is productive in the future and it's a gift to your future production self and writing self. And then there's the thing that you can easily get lost in, and that's when you make fun of Ivan for looking at reverb instead of I don't know, whatever we're supposed to be doing here. So yeah, it's past the point of it being a necessary and useful activity that you should do like once a week to figure out if there's a thing you need. You're supposed to be writing a lyric and you're looking for multi-channel interfaces. There's probably something to explore there about where you're placing your hurdles. And maybe eventually in this conversation, after Brett chimes in, there's what's at the basis of this, what's causing that kind of thing to put down these hurdles more than what they are so much. But
That's really interesting. And then I don't know if we should actually tell Ivan how we know he's looking at reverb. Should we tell him the giveaway or should we just, no, because then you're not going to do it anymore. Fred, what are your thoughts on this?
Me, I suppose the distractions or the things that keep me from being productive are also is also the fuel that makes me productive. They're one and the same. Um, you know, I've said before, a lot of the way I write lyrics and everything else is, I fictionalize real world events. Well, the consequence to that is it takes you have to filter that. You actually there's no quick way around it. You just have to go through. Um, and part of the therapy or whatever of it, it is the art. You go through it. You sit there. You fire up the instruments and you make something really cool. So in a lot of senses, we're polishing that turd, but it ends up being a pretty turd by the time you're done. So yeah, for me, they're kind of functions of the same thing. So to do something about that, my studio is my space. So, this is the place I come to clear my head, do those other things that involve this. Everything else is somewhere else. This room has this one job. Um, it, 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 Even if I'm not productive, I am, because if nothing else, like yesterday, I thumbed through samples in FL Studio for a little while. Maybe I'll bounce some ideas off the Chat GPT mirror. You chip away at it. That's kind of it.
Thank you. It's really interesting. I made a note here of tenacity, persistence, and forced motivation. Once again, we've come to this part where we're talking about it's real hard. Writing music is hard. If you're working on a song and you're stumped and you're really questioning yourself and everything, and you've got zero motivation, you're doing it right. Like, this is a part of it. It's part of it. Razi, what do you think?
I was in the middle of blocking a spam reporter, reporting a spam block, blocking him.
Thank you. Yes, I saw that one. Yes.
Blah, 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 blah thing with the polishing a turd metaphor comes up once in a while, and I always think back to is there a Mythbusters episode, or is it just Adam Savage doing a, like, you get maybe it's a Japanese art where you get a ball of mud and you actually do polish it, but you kind of have to torture the metaphor further. If you're going to do this, actually polishing a turd, as in the metaphor for being distracted to the point of really focusing on something that's clearly not the point. If you're making a YouTube video out of it, baby, you got a stew going. Or if you're using it as your...
Okay, I'm sorry. Can we not say stew and turd? That's not.
I think that's part of the comedy of it, though. Mud,
That's not beef chunks.
There you go. Thank you. The idea of turning something gross into something shiny and beautiful, it takes a long time. Like, you've got another excuse to be doing it, like, because you're making a TikTok or a YouTube out of it, or you're just meditating. And there's some third reason beyond it's distracting. It's the other thing I'm doing, but it's going to take a lot of time. I don't know where to go with that, but there's something to put together with that. You can actually come out with a polished artifact from some shit or some mud.
And I thank you. And at this stage, I am going to reference Yarowaski in Holy Mountain. If you've ever seen it, there's a scene in it where he takes a dump. I think the Messiah guy takes a shit and he turns it into gold. And Yarowaski in his beautiful accent says, "You have turned your filth into gold." And such
filth.
It's such I think that's what he says, but he uses a word and the way he says it. But what's amazing about that is sometimes I watch that incredibly weird movie, and if you haven't seen Holy Mountain, it's disturbing. It is disturbingly brilliant. Like, it is actually disturbing. Like, they're doing stuff in it that is disturbing. And he's wanting to pull you out of the way you think, or how you accept beauty, and to show you other stuff that is quite hideous. And you start to see the beauty and the design in it. And it's, you just have to see it. But viewer discretion advice. But I think that movie, just like Close Encounters, has got a lot to do with the creative process. I think that movie is a statement on the creative process itself, because the thing they keep saying in 2001, Close Encounters, which is my favorite quote from any movie, is, "This means something. This is important." And they can't get the idea through. It's like they are pulling this idea through from the veil between two different dimensional spaces, that membrane of thought. I guess that's what I'm saying, is that there's that fucking membrane between the realm of existence where this thing exists. And this is what humans do. And you got to fucking go in there, get the goddamn thing and pull it out. And it doesn't want to go through that membrane. A word that I'd like to come out with today is turding. Turding, turding, because it's when you're polishing a turd. It's turding. And I know it's gross. I don't mean to be gross, but if you've written if you've done music, or art, you will understand that there's this thing, and it's a turd. But you can't throw it away. Man, I was thinking, Rant, how I've been looking around. I've got shelves and shelves and shelves full of stuff, and I haven't looked at that stuff in months. In fact, since I've been living here, which is coming up to 2 years, I have never used that stuff. because that stuff I got because it was part of a project. And that's the stuff that was left over from the project, but the project's done, it's out the door. But what's really interesting is that I've held on to the scraps, the artifacts, and the leftovers from the projects because I might need them one day. I've got spools of cable stuff. I'm never going to use it. I have got all of this stuff here. I'm looking at it now going, these are projects that are done. I'm never going to complete this shit. It's done. And I made this recollection, this realization that not only is my very small apartment full of shelves holding this stuff that I don't use anymore, but what that stuff actually is and what it actually represents. And then I reflected on what my neurological area is similar to in my fucking brain. Like in my brain, it's the same fucking thing. That there is all of this clutter and space, and I just, because I'm holding on to this stuff, and it might be grief or trauma and all that stuff, or it might be that baseline or that other thing. It's just really fascinating. Super Tablespoon says, I had an extra computer that I was going to use for a project. Computer, going, use, project. Okay, we know where this is going, but I had a friend who needed it more. Oh, good for you. And last year, I was going to start it up, but for right now, this is the only computer and I want to tear it up because I use it for work. Great. And Brett did add turding verb, polishing filth into treasure. Yeah, you're turning lead into gold. And for those of us who know about the Philosopher's Stone, and I'm not talking about Harry Potter, I'm talking about the Emerald books. For those who know.
Alchemy is so much more fabulous than the scatological theme we were going with before.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff because once again, I said this before we streamed, like if you can create a song out of nothing, if you can create art out of an idea into a thing that's not even physical, it's this strange thing floating around in the universe, you can fucking do anything. Like, this is in the realm of magic, and wow, how many eyeballs did I just saw your eyeballs roll. Alan Turding. Eric, it's Turing, not Turding. Alan Turding refers to breaking the code of polishing a turd into something gold. Yes, you are actually right. Well, so did Rumpelstiltskin. Okay, so this has gone into a very strange dark place. Turding test to filth becomes convincingly.
People.
Well, it's a funny. Okay, so rant number 2. Look, there's a bunch of. Anyway, rant number 2. I did this. So Melody was over on Wednesday night, and we're trying to get Frank and Hal to be friends, and it's not going well because Frank. It's interesting that Frank's got trauma. He's got a lot of trauma. He spent a month on the streets, and he's got. This is his space, and Frank's never had space before, and he's very protective of me as well. And as soon as I fucking touched Hal, gave him a pat, Frank went, "Don't you touch my fucking gun!" But it's really interesting that. So while we're trying to, me and Melody are talking for like 5 hours about making music and stuff. And there's a game you can do where you throw you throw a melody idea at someone, a melody, and they will throw it, but they will sing it similar to what's referred to as a recurring or a Chinese whisper. They will throw it back to you. And you can do it as a call and response, but the thing is, you might start with a melody from a band that you really like, but you can't use that melody because it's plagiarism. But if you start singing it backwards and forwards to each other, like bouncing it back, you start building this really beautiful melody. And I did it a bit in university, but I've never really done it much. And I'm starting to go, you know what, I'm going to start doing this more. Here's something fascinating that happens. The original range of notes might be this much, which might be a sixth or something, half the keyboard. As you bounce it backwards and forwards, it becomes more monotonal. fascinating, really interesting. So you have to push to make it, to expand it. And that is exactly what tenacity, persistence, and force motivation, that's what it's about, is that the more in the echo chamber of your mind, I mean, like if you're going to take some idea and turn it into some really depressing thought that's going to grind you down, which is what your brain does, think of what the process of music is doing as well. Is the process of music, and is that idea that it was originally a song, are you actually grinding that one down too? Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that my mind has a really rotten tendency of taking something that's fine and turning it into shit, turning it into the worst case scenario. Apparently, it's a typical human trait. Does it do the same thing with music? And if so, how do you push out of that? Like, how do you go, how do you interject something into your thought process that is going to expand an idea? And I will say, yes, I have been listening to more of the amazing Australian band, the Divinyls, and I think they're officially my favorite band. Holy fuck, the stuff they do. And it's all like typical rock and roll chords, nothing major. Oh my God, that girl, Chrissy Amphlett, holy shit, what she does with her voice. She's up there with Kate Bush. Razi, make sense of this.
Yeah,
Polish
that's
this turd.
the challenging part. I don't know if I have this thought together exactly, but yeah, no. There's something in there about what you were just asking. Could you repeat the end of what you were saying before we started talking about the Divinyls?
Yes, and I'll also say Drake's GoFundMe is still going. So if you got a couple of bucks, throw it towards Drake, because Drake could really use it right now. So the thing that I'm getting at is how if left to, I will be vulnerable and honest. If left to my own devices, my neurological process will take an idea, a reality, a thought, a person, or whatever, and grind it down until it becomes quite depressing and despairing. It's a problem I have. And I am fortunate that I have a very positive, my inner voice is really positive. Annoyingly positive sometimes, but I've got a really positive inner voice that is always pushing that up. That's going, hey man, no, it's not that bad. Fuck, we can do this. We can do this. And I am grateful to the cosmos for giving me an incredibly annoying inner voice that often comes out.
Okay.
So it's constantly, and my issue is that the same thing happens with the musical idea, that when the musical idea first is gifted to me from the universe or from wherever, my cerebral cortex, wherever it comes from, the concept, it gets ground down.
There's
Go ahead.
there's a fine line between demo-itis and committing to something early that is gold, already polished, not a turd. And recognizing some of those, oh man, I'm trying to avoid the scatological again and not get called out for making poop stew. But the amount of time that you spend in pre-production collecting your ideas, I think we've all got that. We all don't have a problem there. These aren't judged ideas. We're not making the assessments. We're just doing the work. We're collecting the ideas, either recording bits or writing melodic bits or archiving chord progression with melody or tone or writing patches. And those things, like, once in a while, I think we all feel the little spark of inspiration and recognize something good in it, or something that gives you the energy to want to preserve it, want to carry it through, want to present it. And staying flexible, but dedicating to having that little bit of the original idea, make it all the way through fully formed. And sometimes that's like just coloring the segment in your timeline that color. This one means don't change that. Or naming the track with a you know, final version asterisk or something. But taking that through all the way to the end of the production. And sometimes that's like your guidepost, your North Star to sort of orient the rest of the project. And I don't know if that gets you out of doing too much on top of it and burying the thing. But at least at the end of that, I've found that sometimes I can mute 15 tracks of bullshit and get back to that one stupid out-of-tune demo guitar lick that was the inspiration nugget of the whole fucking song that I spent 6 months on. And be like, oh yeah, that was fine. It was beautiful. It was great the way it is. I miss that. Bring it back.
Okay, I got a lot to say about this. And Eric, if you want to talk just through, let's see your hand because I really want to hear your input on all this shit. Yeah, this is good. This is a really important thing. Like you said, the demoitis. It's like, that's it. I have for a very, 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 very long time, like years. Thanks, Eric. I'll be 30 seconds. Where you've got an idea, and I will write a note on it saying, "This is a brilliant idea. Don't change it. Trust me, future Carl, who's angry and all pissed about everything. This is a fucking great idea." And I've had to like train myself that if the idea is good enough for me to get my phone and sing into it or to write it down on a piece of paper, it's a good idea. And having the faith in that. So I was listening to this thing like recently where I was working on a song and it was a stream and it's this fucking great idea. And then that's not in the final song because I ground it out of the song. Eric, what do you think about this? Good to see you, by the way.
Be here, man. I try to give. I did this thing where I don't want to go down this rabbit hole of working on something. I just end up hating after like 20 hours or 10 hours because it takes 20 hours plus to kind of from beginning to end to get an average song done if you're cranking along. So I know, back to the first thing a little bit is I know the big barrier for me is if I know I need to sit down for 20 hours, I usually don't sit down, but if I put in my head that, okay, how far can I get this idea in 1 hour? In 1 hour, and I have my DAW set up so I can pull in things very quick. I'm not messing with sound design. I got my mixers and compressors all set up and everything, so I'm not spending time on that. I can get immediate to developing the idea and putting it into a song structure. And where I get in an hour usually tells me if I'm going to keep that idea or keep working on it. And even sometimes I'll try to stop at an hour, put it away, and then come back to it later and see what I think of it, get a little bit different perspective. But I also, if I'm working on that and I get distracted and come up with a new idea and put that one to the side, I don't stop myself anymore. I used to just try to be rigid and focused, and I felt like that forced focus would take me out of the creative part of it. And so I wanted to give myself outs, but have a way to save it. So I'll quickly go to a new version and I'll forget those patterns and those tracks are in there and I'll start doing new ones. And it may be a month later when I come back to that song, go, hey, why aren't these 3 patterns in here? And whoop, there's the original idea. And then maybe that's still unique enough that I can go create a new one from that. I got better perspective on it. Or, a month later or a week later or 2 months later, I'm like, oh, that's that change up I need to put into the song that I lost track of earlier. And then that's the hook I'm trying to chase later because I forgot I had something that was a good hook earlier.
It's just amazing how you're fighting with yourself when you first heard it. You're fighting with, it's this fascinating thing, the craft of making music is you're fighting yourself. Like, I've got this fucking song that I've been bitching about for 2 months now. And I kept the lyrics, I totally changed the music, and I finished it. It's great. And then let's listen back to the original demo that I hated, and I went, what the fuck is wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with this fucking demo. Like, the bass line's bitching. And so that has now become another song. And it's just really interesting. Meanwhile, I was really fucking angry and I sat down and made this weird sound and I was cussing over the top being a smartass and I went, oh, that's kind of cool. And in like 3 hours, this really tight, solid song built around this thing, and this other thing has now it's gone into 30 hours. Um, I just don't understand. Eric, do you understand?
I can't confess that I understand, but I know how to try to. I believe I know how to work around it. So I have a song like the next one of the next singles we have coming out. I started on that song a year ago, and the one that came out yesterday, that one took like 2 or 3 hours, from beginning to end. And it's funny how that happens because the one that I did a year ago, I had to put it away 3, 4 times. I probably spent 50 hours on the song, way too much. And then one day I opened it up and I had the right perspective. I heard it with totally different, like I was surprised, I'm like, what song is this? And I heard it like I was listening to someone else's song. I had different perspective and I was able to just like crush that in a couple hours, make it something bigger, perfect, the way I probably wanted it to begin with when I don't even remember when I had the idea. But sometimes, you know, it's funny if I send like an idea, I like to capture all these ideas, at least get a verse and a chorus, and then if I'm getting stuck, just kind of put it away, send it to somebody else. Like have a little network of people. Hey, what do you think of this? Just get their first reaction. The irony is it's not even their reaction half the time. It's the act of sending it to someone else. All of a sudden you're like, oh, I know what I need to do now. Let me pull that song back. You know?
Yeah, yeah. It's also this is another really interesting thing is that it's when the fucking penny drops. And sometimes I wonder, is it the correct mix of coffee? Like, what is it? Is it a good night's sleep? Like, if I haven't slept well, usually absolutely everything I do sucks. And my mind isn't clear enough to be making a clear decision, to be looking at something to go, there's a whole bunch of gold here. There's a whole bunch of good, amazing ideas here. And I'm in a place where I can now utilize and take advantage of them. And even the rotten ideas, I can be using them in other ways as well. Um, I will say, as you know, and that's link that just went in there is Eric's new album, Electronic Death Machine Bad Blood. New album. Go get it. Um, yeah, I just can't. I. It's just really fascinating. I am trying to get into the habit of writing music at night because everything I have done in Angelspit up to this point is all about my morning clear thinking musical brain. And it's fascinating that for me, at least the way that my brain works, which is different to everybody else's, at nighttime, maybe it's because of exhaustion and everything else. My brain just goes, you know what, fuck it. We're going to go with this. And I listen back to it and I go, yeah, this is a really interesting, fun, fuck you kind of thing that's going on here. I think if my head's going to go up my ass, it's going to be in the mornings. Eric, help.
Hey, I was about to go where you're going with that. So I think there's like three phases of music writing for me, and they all happen at different times of the day: tiredness, awakeness, right amount of coffee. Maybe right after a live show, going and seeing other bands play. That's really inspirational. Going to a club, sometimes hearing the music through the wall down the hallway, inspires you to ideas, even if you're hearing your own music sometimes at a club. But um, I know that if I'm super tired and I'm like need to go to bed, if I just go force myself to get in front of the computer and the keyboard, that 1 hour, I know I'm going to be more creative during that time. And it's going to be like kind of stream of consciousness. The first hour waking up, if I just go straight into that. But if I'm doing mixing, that is not the time for me to mix and be critical and technical. That needs to be wide awake. I know I have a certain amount of time in front of me without zero interruptions. And then there's other times when it's more of this kind of, I'm the rabbit hole kind of mindset, and I just need to go do design and create little effects processors and effects chains, and I can go work on the fancy knobs and tweak all the details and update my templates, kind of like rearranging all your equipment. It's like the virtual equipment, virtual setup, virtual studio. But it's definitely, you got to be in those three different mindsets, and or one, you got to know your mindset, when it is, what triggers it, how, and then recognize what's happening, but also recognize that if you're in the creative mindset, don't go try to mix something. If you're in the mixing mindset, don't try to be creative because you're just fighting yourself the whole time.
Thank you, and I will echo that. If you want to create, and if there's a song you want to work on that song. If you feel like mixing, then mix. Trust your fucking mind, trust your body. And another thing I will say as well is that regarding motivation, like sometimes it's either early in the morning or late at night, and it's like, well, either I'm going to lie in bed right now and death scroll for 3 hours, or I could work on music, a trick, a hack. You ready? Sit-ups. Do 10 sit-ups, 5 sit-ups, 20 sit-ups, how many sit-ups you can do. And think about, and I know that just hit a bit of a chord, think about making the music. And when you're done with those sit-ups, and in my case 4 sit-ups, and I'm writhing in pain, it's like, okay, let's go, let's make music now. And as soon as you turn that shit on and your earphones are on, you're in. You are jacked into the matrix and you are in. All you have to do is turn the fucking thing on. Did anybody else want to jump in? Because this is a very good conversation. Oh, I see a thumb. Brett, what are you thinking?
One of the things that's nice about making music at night versus the day is headphones, actually. I try for production. To maintain production quality, it's best to write music, in open air. That's how it's going to be listened to most of the time. And it translates better if you start there 2 headphones than the other way. But as the musician writing it, it's so much more immersive when it's just your headspace. And when you're doing that at night, man, there's everyone else. Nobody's gonna bug you. You can close the freaking door. Nothing's gonna happen. And it's just, I don't know. For me, it's very calming. That's my happy place.
Thank you. Eric?
Yeah, that made me think of something, Brett, is that I like to, someone says, are you writing or are you producing? I always, even when I'm writing, I feel like I'm producing because I like to mix while I'm doing it. And I think it was funny. I was really strict the first few years to monitors and getting different monitors, bigger ones, adding the subwoofer, doing it all through that, and then mix it down. Then I go listen to it on the phone or the car. But when I added 3 or 4 kind of open back, closed back, different headphones that I could put on and mix, it really helped, especially with ear fatigue. You get ear fatigue listening to whatever you're listening on. If you can switch around, and you can press right, it's 100% more immersive when you're in your headphones. I like listening to music like that. If you mix 100% like that, you're going to run into some issues and stuff a lot of times unless you know what to listen for over time. But I'll even have the subwoofer on the monitors and put the open backs on, so I'm getting the sub, because you're lacking that a lot of times in there. But having different types of headphones that bring out kind of different dynamics and different sounds really helps. I was mixing the song, came out yesterday, and on one set of headphones, just one of them, man, there's some painful high end, and nothing else had that high end, not even in my car. And it didn't, but it came through more if you're listening to it on an iPhone even. So that helps in so many different ways, because you reduce that fatigue, but you also get more immersed in it. But it gives you different perspectives with just an easy change of swapping the headphones. And in fact, my big add to the studio recently was a $99 headset splitter, headphone splitter, so I could have 3 or 4 plugged in at the same time.
Brilliant. Thank you. Razi, what are you thinking?
That reminds me of a story. I keep in mind to buy new ear pads for these things every once in a while. You get the Bayer DTs that everybody has. Well, Carl anyhow, and a million other people. Those crush down and they get a lot of oils in them for some reason. I don't know why that would be. Who knows? But it happens, and they get a lot more dense maybe than when they started. So every few months I'm reminded, like between $6 and $30, depending if you want to buy OEM or the originals, and you'll get when you switch them, you'll be like, I don't even recognize these headphones. What am I listening to? So yeah, every once in a while, replace your ear pads.
You can get replacement ear pads.
Yeah, it comes with a little disc for the part that touches, the speaker, and a rubberized surround thing, and yeah, these parts.
Oh my God.
It's a little bit of a chore to work around the edges, and
Oh my God. I had no
There's some
idea.
customized ones too.
yeah, there's
Out
different
there
kinds
that
of
are pretty
foam,
cool.
memory foams, and leathers, and velvets and stuff. I get the velvet ones every time, and I get black because I don't know, blends nicely, but. Cheap way to refresh your cans and also make them really more comfortable, because you'll start noticing that the actual speaker drivers are pushing up against your pinna outer ear there and causing discomfort. And then when you get these, they're like, oh my God, these are 12 feet away from my ears and my head. They feel balanced again and lighter.
Going down a rabbit hole now. Look at him. That's what it looks like when
Go
Carl goes through a
shopping.
rabbit hole. I just did mine, Rez. 2 weeks ago, my brother was coming out. We wanted to mix stuff, and I wanted to make sure I didn't have my dirty ass ear stuff
Yeah, yeah.
for his, And then
Also,
I'm
if you
like,
ever share
wow, I want.
earphones with
And then I
anybody,
ordered another one. I'm like, I'm going to redo the Behringers too. It's like do them all.
I will. The story that it actually reminded of was I had a client in mixing, and he was like just listening to it up on the monitors, and I was like, yeah, you listen to it on the cans, and he was like, no, that's okay. I was like, no, really, you should listen to him. And he's like, backing away. He's like, no, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm sad. And I was like,
It's like
no,
when
I
someone shares their
insist you
earbuds
must.
with you. It's
Yeah,
like, hey, here's my earbud. You want to hear this? You're like, I'm good. I'm good.
it didn't dawn on me until afterwards what he was
I
really.
I don't even recommend you touch someone else's phone. Think about how gross that
You
is.
know. Carl,
This
did you
is
find
really.
your replacements? There's some $6 ones that I got, but the
I'm
discs
actually.
small, so get the slightly don't get the $6 ones.
This is fascinating because I paid a lot more for my headphones than what's on here.
Do you have 770s?
Yeah.
Yeah, same ones. And also, like the same thing goes for
These are so much cheaper.
yeah. And the thing is, you're going to throw them away anyway.
Why did everything get cheaper?
The foam replacements have always had
Oh no, I don't think I'm looking at the right thing here. I can't find the phone replacements.
but it's a full ear cup. It's a donut of
Yeah, I can't find it. I
foam.
can't. I'm looking at the website. I can't find. What I'm saying is that
The
I
actual
paid a
headphone.
lot more for my 770s than what's here.
I have two pairs, one that I bought a long time ago and one that I bought recently, just, to have them. So the prices have, I thought, remained pretty stable, but
Okay. Hey, do me a favor. Stick a link in there to the actual
yeah,
foams themselves because I can't find them.
I'll do that in a second. But the other part of it was, Eric, you sort of said that, or maybe it was Brett. Somebody a few minutes ago said something about needing to listen to it on the speakers because nobody listens to it on headphones. But I'm not sure that's actually the case, since everybody's sort of listening on earbuds and small speakers these days and on their phones. But
Oh,
the two things that sort of come to mind around that concept are earphones are not stereo, they're binaural. You're isolating one speaker into each ear, whereas stereo is something that hits your head, has an acoustic shadow, and hits both ears, and also bounces off the walls. Very different listening environment and different experience. And absolutely both of them, I think, are important because of that fact that I do think there are, if anything, as many people listening on buds and small sources than ever. So it's at least worth getting your bearings on a couple of different types of delivery, binaural and true stereo. And I'll go put that link in the notes.
Yeah, I was going to say, what I tend to do is I mix on the monitors. I write and produce and kind of on the monitors, so I get a loose mix, and then I go to headphones. I go through two particular set of headphones that I use. There's a VSX pair that I have also that are pretty good, different dynamics, and they have a piece of software that comes with them. They kind of give different, kind of environments. That's not so great, but it's interesting. But once I get the mix in there and I feel the dynamics, I have like the verse and the breakdown is getting narrow, then the chorus explodes. Then I go back to the monitors and I try to start turning it down a little bit. I think that's key, not letting the mix get too loud in the monitors and even in the headphones, because it plays tricks on you too, and everything sounds better louder. But then I put a reference track that I have in mind that I'm trying to get to. I like Call Me Sleeper. They got great low end mixes for the kind of stuff I'm trying to do. And then so I'll put it up there and I'll try to match that. Or Mobius. He has good mixes I like. So I got to give him a hard time. He still hasn't got my remix done. But the the sound I get there, then I go back to the headphones, and usually there's no more tweaking. It's just kind of bouncing back and forth between those, makes it work pretty well.
That's really interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I do everything on headphones, and I progressively turn them down. Thank you very much for that link as well, by the way. Yeah, I progressively turn everything down because I'm aware that ear fatigue is wow, look at that. Oh, they're fluffy. Yeah, I'm very, very aware of ear fatigue. So yeah, it's really fascinating. My biggest fucking thing in the whole galaxy. Thank you. My biggest issue is getting the damn song to work. That's where I spend all my fucking time, is making the song work. And it's really funny, man. The weaker the parts are, and this is just me, the weaker the parts are, the more time I spend on the mix. For some reason, a track that is just dope, I just use dope. It just slots together. The mix just goes pop. I don't know where that is, but maybe that's just me. And maybe it's another thing that it's yet another reminder. Because, man, the other problem that I have is that when stuff's not like absolutely working, I just pile shit on top of it. Like, it's a habit I gotta get out of. Like this song I did the other day, it sounds great. Oh, what would happen if I added, fucking 2 hours later, why did I do that? Anyway, do we want to keep talking about this? Do we want to change and talk about fucking Brett? Talk to me.
I find a lot of times that I go through the same thing, where it's like you're trying something new and you end up piling a whole bunch of things on top of it. Pretty soon it's just a whole bunch of things, right? A lot of times I'll sideline those, and then I'll come back purposefully to remove as many of those things as I can while maintaining the character of what they brought. It's and that's something I kind of got from you and others in discussion of how to treat guitars in industrial. Because the problem's almost the same. You've got too much sonic density and you can't give the ear a rest, right? So my thing is get it down to audio, because usually a lot of times I'm starting from MIDI, and when that is a block of clay, if you will, then it becomes about sculpting, and that's where my skill set, I'm more comfortable getting into the audio there and playing surging.
Yeah, I heard this thing the other day that I thought was fantastic. And it was an Italian cook talking about how you make a sandwich in Italy. And what you do is you'll have a nice piece of prosciutto, you'll have a nice piece of tomato, and you'll have a nice piece of lettuce. And you might have a smear of some nice mustard on a nice piece of bread. There you go. So that you can ascertain these different tastes that all work together really well. And you can actually sense and taste, appreciate the quality of that prosciutto and the quality of that tomato and the quality of everything. But in America, it's got pickles, 5 different types of gooey fucking shit on it. And it's this overload taste sensation. And it's got 5 different hams and a whole bunch of different cheeses. And it's just this explosion of taste. And it was really fascinating because I thought, I'm starting to do that musically. In that I will take too many, here's this amazing orchestral sample, here's this amazing thing here, la, 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 la. Now I have to mix it to try and somehow make sense of it. Whereas here is a beautiful pad on synth whatever. And this pad by itself is just the most lovely thing. That's all I'm going to have. I might bring something else in to replace it or sit on top of it in certain places, but predominantly I am going to give you the pleasure of the sonic capabilities of this synthesizer that I wanted for years finally have, and it is coveted. And it was just a real moment of thinking about, I think sometimes I'm stuck in that frontline assembly early 90s concept of stack, 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 stacking everything up. Yeah. And I say this because I'm really throwing myself back into a lot of older rock and roll where it's just one guitar, maybe one or two mics. It's a good guitar. It's a good amp. There it is. Doesn't it sound great? Or it's a fucking Moog, mini Moog, blah, 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 blah. There it is. It ain't stacked with all of this other garbage. And I was always sticking a sub bass under everything. I'm really trying to get out of that habit. Because this kick drum sounds fucking delightful. Get rid of everything else. Eric, what do you think about this?
Yeah, especially with virtual, it's really easy to copy, paste, change the instrument. You can stack it up pretty quick. But I like the idea of like, I'll take one sequence and just layer, stack them up, mute ones, copy, and get it just like too busy on one. And then I can back out of that, removing stuff, stripping it down, and get into a whole song. It's never tends to stay that way. Like you just kind of keep layering them on, get different iterations. But to beat a horse to death with your sandwich analogy, it does depend upon what kind of bread you put on your sandwich. And then you also have to get mayonnaise, and you got to put that on the bottom layer, because if you don't put it in the right place, it doesn't block the bread from all the juices coming through the tomatoes and the oil and the vinegar. And you got to put the meat at the right level, the cheese at the right level, because if you don't, then it's a hot mess anyway, even if you do have all the right parts.
Thank you. And you've just engaged me on cooking, and you don't do that. And I know that I don't engage you on cooking, but what you said absolutely summed it up perfectly, is that the problem I've got in my music is I'm putting all of this oil and all of this shit and like I see your hands. Give me a sec. I listened back to like this is a while ago. I listened back to tracks that I did a million years ago, and it's like no one is gonna fucking hear this stuff. Everything got bust and sidechained so hard against the kick or the this or the that. It's just gone. So, man, my thoughts are, if you're going to be using that oil, make sure it's the best oil you fucking got. And you might only put that oil at certain parts of the sandwich. Yeah, I got to cook now. I think I'm going to make a curry. Rezi?
I'm going to make popcorn.
Are you going to put anything on the popcorn or just have popcorn?
No, I use coconut oil for the oil, and I use flavicol as the seasoning, which is the stuff they use at the theater concession stands.
So you'd never consider about just having popcorn?
Plain? No.
Just popcorn?
I would not consider that, no.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, whatever. Suit yourself.
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, yeah, whatever. Just suit yourself.
I don't like it plain popcorn. I like it fucking salty.
For the first time ever, your Boston accent just slightly came out. Try soy sauce.
Oh yeah. There's also
clever stuff. It's full of chemicals.
The furikake, fucking lots of different seasonings, kind of shit, or is it? I don't know if that's a kind of porn or a kind of seasoning, but
well, it sounds like it's a porn.
Little of both.
Look, I'm just gonna go out and I'll say this: put some salt in at the beginning with your coconut oil.
The flavicol goes in the shortening.
Don't use flavicol because it's full of poo. Just use fucking salt.
That's how you make a stew, baby.
It's full of MSG and rubbish.
Literally, that's why I bought it, because it has the secret ingredients, including other flavors.
Which is chemicals.
Yes, right. Precisely. You're on to me. You got to figure it out. Joking
Throw
aside,
the salt in there, and the salt
Yeah,
will break
yeah,
down, and it will break down into the popcorn as it pops, and it will be better. Trust me. Trust Uncle Carl.
that the flavacol is salt and butter flavoring of some sort, which whatever it is, it doesn't include dairy, but it is it goes in the shortening with the popcorn. And I've got it down,
Shortening. What the hell is shortening?
whatever the oil that you choose, whatever the oil is of your choice.
Right.
In this case, I use coconut oil, which sometimes looks a little bit like shortening because it's white and solid at certain temperatures, but it makes a very well coated, because as you said, you put it in with the oil, put the salt and flavorings in with the oil, it distributes beautifully.
Can I? Thank you.
Bacon grease also, yeah, that's
I'm
true.
all about the bacon grease. Can I just get you to say something for me?
Yeah, sure.
I want you to say,
Par-
stop busting my balls. I'm making popcorn here.
No, none of those here, maybe, but none of those words have the Boston accent in it.
He said, stop busting my balls. I'm making popcorn here. I know, it's
New
New
York
York.
as
I know.
hell, dude.
I know. Wow.
Well, now you stop busting my balls. I'm making popcorn here.
Yeah, but I want to hear your Bostonian accent.
I can't do it on demand. I can't. I'll try my best in a minute if something comes up. But the phrase really has to have the non-rhotic thing to drop an R for, otherwise it could be anywhere. Anywhere.
So, how do you say here?
Here.
Here.
Well, I'm going to the mall to get PSD.
There it is. You know, I may have said this before, but I got a lift the other night with a guy from New Jersey, thickest fucking Jersey accent I've ever fucking heard. Yeah. And we were having a good laugh because his wife's from Boston. And they were talking about Worcestershire sauce, and you can tell somebody from Boston by the way they say Worcestershire.
Because there's the neighboring community of Worcester.
Yeah, Worcester. I love
it. Definitely says Worcester on the sign, but it's absolutely pronounced Worcester.
And he so the thing, if you want to find out where someone's from, you get them to say, "My daughter Lorna left the shopping in the car left the shopping in the shopping cart in the car park."
Shopping cart in the car park.
There you go.
Sometimes, and this is, I've noticed, this will be the end of it. Some really deep Southie accent speakers at the convenience store, at the Packy, go wince a little when they lean into the no R. So if they say ka, like they really like lean into it. It's not just an affect. It's something purposeful and like speaks to the birthright and ancestry of their community. So I do that sometimes if I want to like really blend in, me going to the store. I say, I want to sound like a local when I'm buying a cat and a cigarettes, like whatever it is. On the topic of whatever we were talking about 3 minutes ago before that, blah, 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 main goal thing. Oh yeah. Good songwriting exercise in the pursuit of simplicity and not getting bogged down in that complexity layer where you realize you've done 15 versions of the same thing and stacked them and that you maybe don't need it is pick your inspiration song, really honestly enumerate what's in it, like overdubs and everything, like melody that's clearly overdubbed because it's a 3-person band and there's a 4th part. Really map that out and seek from the beginning to recreate just that number of layers of stuff. Song could be in a different key and different tempo with different instruments, but that's your number of layers. And that'll sometimes force me to get enough breadth and width and height, whatever the dimensions are of the individual instruments, to fill the track. And then stop and put it aside. It's done.
Thank you. Ivan, I see your hand. I'm going to throw to you in a second. Thank you for clowning around. That was fun. After this, I want to talk about inspired by giants. And I want to talk about the songs that inspire you. But I want to ask you outside the genre. I want you to think about stuff that's outside the genre. Because for me, at least, I mean, if you want to talk about stuff in this genre, that's fucking fine. But for me, I seem to learn more about when I reach out, the soil is far more fertile. For me, might be different for you. Ivan, what are you thinking?
So on the, adding stuff to a sandwich conversation, um, I thinking about it, it occurs to me that when we make sandwiches at home, I 3 or 4 ingredients tops, because there's no need for more than that. We, start with very good bread. It's key. It's got to be good bread. Like Wonder is not going to cut it. Um,
Are you pointing that at me? Do you know something about my situation?
no, I mean, most people will start with Wonder when that's
I honestly like a nicely textured white bread is okay by me
I
sometimes,
don't know. That's
depending on the
different than
sandwich.
Wonder. I don't know. I'm not even sure if Wonder is actually bread. Um, like can't beat good seedy rye with some nice smoked meat on it and maybe some mustard. Game
Um,
over.
I agree that there is a variety to the world of sandwiches, and there's nothing I like more than a sandwich I've never discovered that I now love. That's terrific. But I'm also a peanut butter and jelly kind of human being, and you cannot put that on a seeded rye. The grape
No,
jelly
no,
and
no. That
seeded
is the wrong bread for that.
combination.
The it also occurs to me that when we go out to eat, it is going to end up being a sandwich with a bajillion ingredients that's overdone and you know like
This is a metaphor for pop music as opposed to
and it
your.
is and like the same mindset does make good music. I mean, like once you've got a good kick, what else do you need? There's no reason to overcomplicate it. And it occurs to me that when I'm writing music, there's not a lot of components going in. Like 6 tracks, and I'm a happy camper. It sounds good. It works. Everything's okay. One of them might be, in and of itself, all sorts of like, you know, reverse drums or whatever, and like going crazy with God knows what. If I like, my effects stack is going to be thick, um, but the actual core components pretty small because it doesn't need to really be too crazy.
I'd like to wrap that up, Carl, before
Oh,
you
please,
said
yeah,
that
yeah.
there's a good hat or t-shirt is the stack was thick.
I like it. The stack was thick, the turd was polished. I just will also say that I have trouble. I have noticed that if I work with a musician, because the thing about musicians is a lot of them we cook. A lot of musicians cook because it's usually utilizing a similar part of your brain, which is using mathematics, science, and chemistry for taste. I've noticed that I have trouble working with musicians who strongly stick to a recipe for cooking. And if they are set on a recipe, it's like I can't, because there's no recipe in writing a good song. And for you to make an amazing meal, you're using the same part of your brain. And it is a celebration of experimentation resulting in taste. Yes, you might have style, you might have this, and this, but it's so critical, I think, in cooking to say, well, what happens if I really finally chop the garlic and throw it in right at the end? What happens if I do that? Because you're going to get a different taste. You get something more Thai, FYI, because Thai cooking puts the garlic in last. So, and this is such a great conversation because cooking and music, it's just fantastic, man.
And just one last thing: when you're making popcorn, like you can't beat like use a good oil, but then also black truffle salt really, really does a nice job.
Yeah.
Um, I can't overemphasize how tasty that ends up becoming.
Mm.
Uh, And yeah, I mean, like, when you're writing a song and when you're cooking, you are really, really reaching into the same part of your brain to accomplish both things, especially when you're cooking savory, like cooking like your main dishes. That is often, going to encourage that kind of behavior. If you're baking, on the other hand, you follow the recipe or it turns out like shit.
I will say that I don't follow the recipe with bread. Like I always, and I do agree that because baking is more of a science. And you could say, okay, well, this is, you're getting into mixing your subs now. Mixing subs is a science, and you do have to. There are rules, and you do have to follow those rules, because if you don't, you're gonna fuck up everything. But there are elements of baking for me, which is, I'm gonna experiment today, and sometimes I end up with doughy, biscuity bread, but it's fucking delish. But nevertheless. And this ties in really nicely to, I wanted to talk about inspired by giants, is that, people have been making bread for thousands of years. I've been making bread for hundreds of minutes, barely hundreds of minutes. If you count the amount of time the dough's been raising, yeah, hundreds of minutes. So it makes sense for me to learn from the lessons of my ancestors, because humans have been making bread a fucking long time, and it's become a simple, straightforward process. Yes, experimentation is good, but yeast goes in at a certain point because reasons. And if you're not using yeast, here's other things you can do because reasons. Because science, and because of the mechanics of science and the mechanics of what the food is doing under temperature, etc. What this has to do with music is talking about what other bands, and once again, I will say, you don't have to be, you can talk about bands within the genre, or you can talk about bands outside the genre. And the reason I bring this up, I'll go first because I'm a bastard, is yes, I am listening to the Divinyls like a fucking mad prick. And I have become, I love this band. And I keep listening to what they're doing, and I'm like, I've got when I'm going to sleep, I'm listening to their songs, and there's this chord analyzer thing that I'm using, because I swear to God, they're pulling a non-diatonic chord out of it. It might be like, as in, it feels like they're going from C, 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 F, 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 G, G, G. They're all within the scale, but then it feels like they're going to a B flat, which makes this really beautiful, grand, uplifting sound, but they're not. And I'm listening to what she's singing, because, you listen to Gary Newman, and he'll play off diminished fifths a lot, but it's done in a really pretty way, as opposed to being a scary tritone. And I've been listening to this band, and I think what I figured out is the singer, Chrissy Amphlett, was, bless her, rest her soul, she slides on the thirds. So it's setting up an ambiguity in the chords, which is resulting in this fascinating, magic, open feeling. And her voice, and that's something I'm really listening to at the moment, is I'm listening to her voice going, and like, I love Missing Persons. I love what Dale does in Missing Persons, but Chrissy's better. I love what Kate Bush does. Chrissy and Kate Bush are from the same, like, wild experimentation that no one else could really do, because you've heard other people sing Wuthering Heights. There's something about the way Kate wails from note to note and slides and breathes and sighs. And Chrissy does the same thing, but Chrissy from the Divinyls does the wildest stuff, and her voice sounds tortured. It sounds like she smoked 300 packets and drank a whole bunch of bourbon, which she probably did before she did the take, and you can hear this banshee scream voice that has beautiful vulnerability, and the lyrical content is so, I think I'm really only appreciating the hardship that this person and a lot of women go through now because I'm only discovering these lyrics. I didn't get into this shit when I was a kid because it was just over my head. And even though she was only a little older than I was. But it's fucking amazing. And the hits that they had weren't they were playing by the rules. Like I Touch Myself, it's great song, but it's not. When you listen only Good Die Young, for example, or Sleeping Beauty, oh my God, incredible. Ivan, talk to me. What inspires you?
That's an interesting question because my inspirations are weird at best.
Weird's good.
I listen to a lot of like Eastern European, like you want to call it pop, but I don't know if that necessarily actually meets the description because, like, you know, in Ukraine and Russia, when somebody says they're a singer, what they mean is they're a fucking singer. When they say they're a musician, they're playing, you know, they're multi-capable. They're playing lots of different stuff, and you know, some of them like they bring an enthusiasm and energy to everything they do that is like just really like has it feels lost in, you know, in the West. You know, like you know, in Ukraine, there's a band that the translation of the band name is Time and Glass, and you know, it's a guy and a girl, and like they sing duets, and they make these really crazy videos that are just fun to watch. Um, and you know, like musically, it's not overly complicated, but it's like, you know, the melodies they're using are really good, and you know, like they make in dance music, and it's really obviously dance music, but like, you know, there's nothing simple about it underneath that. And then you know, they're, you know, on the Russian side, which I know is not popular these days, but there's a singer called Natalia. She started out as like she was a public school teacher who became a singer because she won a contest. You know, that's about as like weird, like goofy as it gets. But she's really good, and like the level of enthusiasm and skill that is going into everything that she does is totally worth it. But my only complaint is like her version of A Star Called Sun is maybe a little bit too upbeat. Uh, and then was it Vintage, another, you know, I'm not sure if she's Ukrainian or Russian, but and she's a young kid like us, you know, except she looks even younger, and you know, like her sense of humor alone is just worth immersing yourself in because it's, you know, she's kind of out there and fun, you know, like in her, you know, interviews, people are always like, well, you know, you're this young and you look even younger. And you know, in the interviews she'll be like, well, you know, I keep that bottle of boy's blood in the refrigerator and I have some every day.
So my question is, and that's awesome. This is new culture is fantastic. How do you implement that into your music? How do you get inspired by musically, production or otherwise, by this stuff?
Yeah, well, I like to think about how they're approaching things, um, you know, and constructing their songs, and it will give me hints on what I should be doing. You know, that I either, you know, follow very closely or choose to just ignore.
Mm.
um, and then also like you know, like I listen to a lot of there's this whole genre of like not Scandinavian speed metal. That's just like listening to surf music turned up to fast. But like there's this weird mix of Scandinavian folk rock and in out of Finland. There's a Vartinia. They four of them, and like it's like a wall of estrogen when you see them live. Like at the saw them down in Chicago in a room made for doing acoustics, like acoustic sets, and like they were mic'd at the beginning, and they were singing so powerfully that they caused like just a nasty feedback loop in the room, and then just went unmiked for the rest of that show and then the whole next show. And it was 1,000% worth it just because it was just so powerful. And you know, no idea what they're actually saying because like Finnish is a mystifying language at best. Um, but 100% worth it. It was great, super fun. Um, and then there's a band in Norway called Gate. They their stuff is really like just really well constructed, and the violin player, they originally had like he's just a beast.
This is amazing. Thank you, Ivan. But what about you? Tell me about this amazing music you listen to. Tell me about how it inspires from a brick of mortar perspective. What does it do to your music? Tell me.
So my inspirations are going to be very much, X-Gen 80s metal. So bands like Ozzy, rest in peace, and Motley Crue. Then all your thrash bands. I really got into that for a minute. And what I kind of got out of it is these, I'm just speaking outside of the genre that I write in, our genre, but I learned that they're kind of like languages in the sense that these being bands that were formative, the things that I came online with, they shape my music in almost every single way. They are my reference point, if you will. They're like English to me. So understanding, the key concepts of bass, guitar, drums, vocals, and the relationships there between them, um, you know, uh, they can interchange within metal. Uh, there's a lot of times in which I just do not give a crap what the singer's saying because their performance of it is so much better. And it becomes part of the instrumentation of this now, to me, instrumental up here. Um, so that really shapes a lot of what I do. I don't like, if I sit there and no, I don't always care if my listener understands what I say. It's not about that, because it's like Ivan's telling you, about these bands who who don't speak our language yet they can convey every single bit of that emotion, and I think that's I think that's the key concept to it. And when you speak, in a way that reflects that, whether real life, influence, or musically, uh, you're going to get your message across just fine.
Thank you very much. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Razi, talk to me.
The idea starter is outside the genre, and I like that a lot because I mean, I don't even know what genre I'm working in right now anyway, but like clearly there's things that I want to imitate stylistically because it is sort of in the genre. It's stuff you're going to hear in the nightclub alongside the other stuff that I've historically been interested in making. But the two things that come to mind that are both somewhat outside that and also directly related to it and applicable as a utility are like Bowie and the Beatles. There's not a lot. Um, I could cite Zeppelin and Rush and say what I took from them, but with at least the Beatles, there's always in their really condensed and concentrated short period of activity that was the, glass onion to the end of the thing, and their psychedelic and weird, inventive years where they were doing studio technology exploitation. There's always something that I can find that I haven't ripped off directly yet and just say, I'm doing that. And it's not going to come out the same because I don't have access to the same tools or the same drugs or the same George Martin or the same Abbey Road. But it's like, okay, I'm doing that. And maybe it's a way that they've done a harmonic progression with the, like you were saying about the Divinyls, with a weird, non-diatonic chord, or something about the true engineering feat of layering things that they did, or maybe it's just the vibe or the mysticism they were obviously fascinated with. And I'm like, I'm taking that and I'm putting that as my do this in this song rule. And it's just like, you take it and you adopt it. And Bowie is the same way. Like maybe there's like, song forms or musicians that he had on the thing, whether it's the instrumentalists that he had playing, or the chords that he ripped off from previous classics, how he interpreted them, and say, take that form. And this is exactly how I'm going to, this is the intro, this is the chorus, this is the outro, this is the way that this song is going to go. I'm stealing it from this Bowie song. And you end up with something very different in the end. Hopefully that's how art works, and the reinterpretation of my tastes and ideas, what I think he's saying with it. But those are a couple that I can go back to as, I need an idea. What do I do? Here's a writing prompt. Poink, put it in my track, loop it, start messing with it.
Thank you. That's really interesting, because I was mentioning to someone, actually Melody, how important it is to have in your quiver a whole bunch of different arrows. Yeah. And your arrow instinctively, and I say this because I watched new Royce Fiennes movie called The Return, which is about Odysseus going back to Ithaca. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful movie. Absolutely beautiful. After he was in Troy, and he went missing for 10 years, and he made his way back, and he had absolutely nothing, and he was a changed man. And the only person who recognized him was his dog. And the only time he cried was when his dog died. And it's the sweetest movie. And then he goes badass at the end with an arrow and kills everyone. Anyway, spoiler alert. What was the point of that? Yeah, the importance of, so in your quiver as an archer, you have an arrow that you instinctively make, and it's the arrow that you use, and it's a bloody good arrow, because after all this time you've been using and creating and honed that arrow to really perfect it as you go. But the thing is that you're surrounded by all of these other archers who are also brilliant. For example, this one here can pierce fucking, I don't know, whatever. If you learn from them, and if you, it comes back to standing on the shoulders of giants, be open to having a toolkit that's got, it's got a whole bunch of things in it that if it's not working, what would George Martin do? What would Peter Gabriel do? What would whoever do? Like when my drums start sucking, I go, okay, what would John Bonham do? How would John Bonham absolutely caveman destroy this fucking track? And I'm not talking about, just put in a sample. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, how about you fucking think, and how about you push and pull them in actively to help you work on this track? How would Stevie Wonder or Bootsy Collins do a bass line? Think about it. What are your thoughts, Razi?
Both of those are really good songwriting and engineering exercises, like taking your excerpts and figuring out how they were done as far as building your quiver and new arrows. But more specifically, like listening to that Bonham kick and maybe taking a sample that is a Ludwig 48-inch, untreated kick, and treating it so that it sounds like Bonham's kick, and figuring out what rooms to put on it and what EQs to put on it and how much compression and how that fits into the track. That's a real skill building utility task. It's good to do. And I remember, man, we talk about Bonham a lot because it's a monstrous drum sound that they get there. When the multi-tracks, when I first heard the isolated drum tracks for Fool in the Rain or whatever, the halftime shuffle, I was like, I want to figure out how they do that. Like how does he play that? Where are the accents? What notes are actually in it? What is the room sound? How do they make it explosive sounding after that? And I don't know if I don't even remember that aspect of it, but I do know that the process of trying to figure it out was like, forensics and skills and engineering and doing all the things. And I had a good time. Maybe I came away with new tools.
It's a really great exercise as well. If you're in a rut, is get a song that you like, play it, and figure out what they're playing. Figure out what chords they're playing, figure out what the bass line's doing, figure out what the vocal's doing, because firstly, you're going to learn. And secondly, you're going to, I'm telling you, man, you won't even finish that song and you've already gone off and you're starting writing something else. I'm going to pull it back to the Divinyls again. I'm putting this song in here. I want you to listen to this song. Yes, it's a fucking great song. Hi Frank. The arrangement is really smart, and there's a section in this song where it goes to 6. If this one goes 6/4, is it another one they do? They go to 6/4, and it just goes in there. You don't even notice it.
The 6 chord or 6/4 time signature?
6/4 time signature. Maybe it's actually science fiction where they go to 6/4, but it's really fascinating to watch and to really listen to and what they're doing, because I'm going to go back to this track because they are pulling a magnificent magic atmosphere using straight up pentatonic, not pentatonic, non-diatonic, like diatonic chords. So it's all regular. The chord is supposed to be there in the scale. There's no weird, wacky fucking Carl pretending that he's Richard Wagner. Weird chords. None of that. It's all normal. And it's really fascinating. And I'll just be really quickly. They do wonderful things. For example, here's the pre-chorus, the bridge going into the chorus, but then they don't go into the chorus. They go back to the verse. And then they go to the pre-chorus, and then they go to the chorus, or the bridge, the chorus, and then they go verse, then they go double bridge, double pre-chorus, chorus. Shit like that. Like, it's really fucking rudimentary, but it works so well. And another great thing is verse 1, sing it. And fucking her voice. What she is doing to her, like, I listen to her voice going, man, I gotta push it more. I've really gotta, my vocal range, the use of falsetto, the use of the way that she breathes, way almost coughs them out, and slides into words. Fantastic. Second verse, there's a harmony, and the harmony's doing some really interesting things there. And some of the guitar lines, the guitar, I swear to God, is going to a minor third in a major chord, and her voice is definitely doing something. It's doing something in there, like that they are pushing outside the scale. I don't think they knew this. It just sounded cool, so let's do that, which makes it even more brilliant. Then in the third verse, because it's this really weird melody, very fucking weird melody, really weird timing, weird everything, but there's a callback. So she'll sing city, city, da da da, grace. So she does a double vocal where she's screaming the word behind her, and it works so fucking well. Specifically in the vocal onset that she's using is it is borderline screaming, borderline musical. How do I do that? What can I take from this to make my vocals so people will be talking about it in 40 years' time?
That's a beautiful song.
It's a great fucking song. That whole album, and the hurt in those lyrics. The next song on the album is called Sleeping Beauty, and it's just, oh my God, especially at this age, because we're all young guys. If you listen to that now, you'll go, oh my God, this was written about me. because it just goes off and she goes, waiting, waiting, I'm still waiting, I'm still waiting. And it's like, oh my God. Eric, so what we're talking about is music that inspires you. Additional points are given for music outside the genre. And it's not just, I like this song, it's cool. It's how has this person actually inspired you to incorporate their ideas into your music? The floor is yours.
Yeah. Um, my go-to one is Ice-T, like original, like first couple albums, Ice-T, because it's so simple. It's just those drum beats drive it, and just the change up in how he's rapping and doing the lyrics. Because I'm big on putting hooks on every song, making it memorable and catchy. And I don't try to exactly mimic it, but it takes me back to a mindset that helps me simplify and get down to the core elements. And then it's more of that vibe and that energy. I'm often looking for the vibe or the energy. Man, I go back to, like, there are some songs, but not the whole band, like Aerosmith, like Permanent Vacation. That album is just banger, banger, banger on that. And it doesn't sound like Aerosmith after that, like all the big epic, orchestrated songs and stuff. But just those fun kind of great rock songs, those fun kind of hip hop songs and stuff. A lot of times it's, the sometimes it's an outlier song for that band. And then there's weird ones like Kid Cudi, who's like really super technical production and really, really good at it. But I often will listen to, and when you were breaking down the Divinyl song, I'll often listen to breakdowns of the songs that I really like. And it could be a breakdown of something in a different genre. It's usually not the genre we're in here, because there's not enough audience for people to break those songs down. But breaking the song down and understanding it in the way you're talking about it, very musically, very technical. But it's funny too, like there's this lady Ixie that does all the Nine Inch Nails song breakdowns. And then I saw a clip from like Trent Reznor or Atticus Ross going, I don't know what that scale is. I have no idea, because to them it's just that's what sounds good. Adding this key in, oh, that's a fifth. Well, he's like Reznor's classically trained on a piano, so he's probably got muscle memory and kind of just that thing. He doesn't have to think about it. But you'll hear these artists, like when they talk about, oh, they go from 4/4 to 6/4 to this other thing. You hear them go, I don't know. I didn't know what that was. The producer did it. Or it was just the feel, it was good. Or like you were talking about how Chrissy's vocals were in a song. You'll hear a lot of times, like, I've never even sung this song from start to finish like it ended up being on the record until we went in this practice live. So it's interesting what you get out of it, what different people get out of it. And then for me, playing it live often changes the song too. But our last song is called Sucking. Came out of an idea on here like a couple months ago, where it was like taking the same lyric and then just singing it differently, higher, lower, different dynamics, different tune, and just using that repeated vocal to get the dynamics of the song. And I ended up trying to go back after getting the song and putting in more lyrics. And I sat on that song for months, and I'm like, I'm just going to leave the same line repeated over and over in there and just go for feel and vibe and break it up. And then later, when I was trying to mix it in a DJ set, I'm like, oh, wait, I put half. This is a 6/4 in here. I cut out half of the thing here. I didn't even know I did that. I don't even know what that means. Am I messing up the DJs, or do I need to do that? And I start overthinking it. But it's funny kind of how all that rattles around in my brain when I hear you guys talking.
I absolutely agree. And I heard a great breakdown of fucking that dude did Smells Like Teen Spirit, and he just said the musicality that's going on in that song is brilliant, but Cobain didn't know it because he just felt it. And that's also
a stolen drum beat too that Grohl stole on that one from like a 50s song.
Fuck David Grohl. No, and they also, let's not start. No, I think Grohl's a bit of a legend, but I'm with you. Fuck Grohl. So it's fascinating on the Ice-T thing how you can listen to a lot of the rap of that era of the late 80s, early 90s, and it's a fucking drum machine and a guy who's fucking angry. And this is a really interesting thing, and it's brilliant. And a whole bunch of samples that are out of tune totally shouldn't be there, but they're rhythmically in time, and that adds to the magic of it. But it's the vocals, man, and that's I am fucking adamant that your greatest weapon is your voice. Like your ability, if you want to manipulate, if you want to get inside someone's head, you do it with your voice. All the wall of synthesizers, they're just there to back you up. But it's your fucking voice. It's with sincerity and power. Yeah, man, that shit is so good. Apparently, Ice-T is considered some kind of ancient Egyptian royalty because his birthday falls on on like what is considered the birth date of gods. So anybody who shares his on that birthday is considered in the line of Thoth or in the line of the great Egyptian alien gods. There you go. Just some nice trivia there. Yeah, so that's a really interesting thing, and that's the really great thing about listening to, like, man, I'm telling you, I think that I need to put more work into my vocals, and I don't often hear a goth band, industrial band. I don't mean to be throwing things under the bus here, but I don't often hear someone who I go, wow, vocally, wow, and you know, I have to be careful here, but I don't get vocally challenged much, like where I hear somebody do something and it's like, oh, that's good, like fucking Barbra Streisand. Like, Barbra Streisand is possibly the greatest vocalist on earth. And we can go with machetes. You will lose. She is terrifyingly good. When you listen to a vocalist who really strategically thinks about what you're doing, like what they are doing, and they think about how, because there's all these different, it's called an onset with vocals. Brief vocal lesson from Carl. So there's a whisper vocal where you're whispering. There's a singing where you're singing like this. So air comes out first and it's a gentle thing. Then there's speaking, a speaking onset where you're singing like this, and it's using the same onset as speaking. Then there's also yelling, and I think there's like 5 main vocal onsets. And the trick is you use different ones in the same song, because different ones have dynamic. It's like the difference between playing full out power chord, muted notes, or an ebow. You can do the same thing with your voice. And if you're doing a whole bunch of things, if you want to make power chords sound louder, use an ebow to get people acclimatized that this is what's going on right now. And then you go fucking slam. And it's, that's the whole thing about a diversity in what you do vocally, is to maybe, instead of researching synthesizers and stuff like that for a little while, maybe we should consider researching vocals. Like what a good vocalist does, how they do it, why they do it, and therefore what you can do to increase the sonic power of what you're doing. Eric, what do you think about this, or something else?
Instead of searching for synthesizers, be the synthesizer. There you go.
Oh my God.
So that'll be the takeaway. Plus Turding also. My brother and I, we write all of our songs together. We do the vocals, and I like to be very kind of like vibe, on monotone, that second version and that first version you were talking about. He can sing like crazy, and he'll send me tracks. I'll send him tracks. He'll come back and sing. I'm like, no, monotone, 1 note, 2 notes at the most. Like, I'm just like killing all of the range and everything in it, because I'm looking for vibe. I'm thinking, I want this in a club. What does it sound like in a DJ set? What do I got? And so we had to like come up with a compromise. So he's got to write like 3 songs on his own so he can go get that range and get that out of them and that creativity out of them. And then now I've started mixing those and doing that, but it's like a separate thing than our normal project. And it's more just for him to be able to go get that creativity out, because I beat it out of him all the time in the production and recording the songs, because I'm like, this song has a vibe, this is the vibe, stick to this vibe. I'll even send him a guide track. And I do that with other artists, and some of them hate that, some of them love it. um, but when we go play live, then we start finding that happy medium where it's not turning into a V&V Nation song, because I don't want that, but it's getting that dynamic range that you would get more than just whispering, monotone, half spoken, every single line without the dynamics. Because when I'm recording, I can control the dynamics through the breaks and the buildups and tricks with the frequency sweeps and the effects and all of that, and then double layering and low pitch, high pitch, all stacking everything. But live, it brings out a different opportunity for those dynamics, and it really breathes life into it in a different way. But I find myself a lot of times, like I was on doing an interview on a co-host show the other day, and I played this track for them, and they're like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "Well, that's us singing, but we don't do that in our music. That was just a fun song." Because for me, there's a certain vibe. I'm not trying to get that, or I'll try to get it and I'll have a different person, because I'm also fighting that thing where, like, okay, this is what we sound like. We got to sing like this every time. But I want to break that mold too, where I can sing any way I want every single time and have different sounds. But is that what people are expecting? Do I care if that's what they're expecting? So all those things are kind of in the mix.
Thank you. All right, I want to throw this out because also Adapt Manipulate also brought this up. And thank you for your kind words on Twice, the Angelspit track. Here are some thoughts about vocals, because remember, and if you have any other thoughts about vocals besides screaming and sounding like ogre, because that's what everyone does. What we are going to spend some time right now doing is kicking around some ideas that even if you don't sing, you can still utilize these methods of vocals. For example, the vocal that I'm using right now is a kind of a forthcoming vocal, stern Carl, sort of. The thing to remember about your voice is that you've been using it your whole life. And you've got this whole palette of different voices that you can use in your songs to help you. And this is specifically for people who struggle with singing. Okay? You don't have to be able to sing. You can just use your voice. So firstly, think of it as if you were speaking gently to a child, or you're speaking gently to your cat or dog or a puppy. You're speaking gently to them. It is that gentle thing. I challenge you somehow, not in a patronizing way, to speak in a song as if gentle, as if this gentle, calming thing. The way you would talk, another way is the way you would talk to a lover. Another way is the way you would talk to a lover when you're having an argument and it's about to escalate, but you're not letting it escalate. I just saw everybody smiling in a certain way just then. Then there's obviously angry tone, which is great. Then there's obviously a conversational tone. Instead of like projecting too hard, you're just talking. And also remember, then there's talking as if you're a teenager and you won't clean your room and you don't give a fuck. There's also growling, and when I say growling, I don't mean ogre. I mean it's 5 o'clock in the morning and you've just got up and your voice is kind of like this, and you're kind of sort of glottal fry, but kind of that sort of thing. Then there's crying. Then there is pleading. Then there is the drunk backpacker around a piano singing Oasis, which is actually a really good vocal tone to use, because if you can make your songs, your chorus can be a bunch of drunk Irish backpackers around a piano singing your songs, you've got a fucking hit on your hands. Then there is the pushing, teaching, fry and cry. Thank you, Adam. Absolutely. And then there's that patronizing vocal. So think about, make a list of different things that your vocals do. the colors and tones of your vocals that already exist and use them in your songs. And you might say, you know what? In verse 3, where it comes out of the chaos and now we're coming back, I'm going to be kind of like whispering this thing to you as if I'm about to really fuck you up. Or I'm going to bring it down in such a way that I'm pleading with you. It's kind of acting into the microphone. Think about the different things you can do so you're not always, and this is my fucking hang up with so much goth industrial music, is so many artists use the same fucking vocal on set. For God's sake, have fun, because your audience wants you to have fun. Eric, tell me about the universe.
All right, there we go. Hey, I totally agree. I love those ideas. I was even thinking you put notes in the song before you do the vocal, what style of vocal, like the ones you just listed to, and try to challenge yourself with that. I like, we're talking about recording or being creative late at night or in the morning. In the morning, I will purposely, the night before, I'm like, okay, in the morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to sing this song because I want that gravel, that raspy, that low voice. It's like, hey, I could do some whiskey and a cigar, and I know I'll be able to get that Tom Waite, who's another out of genre, big influence. I love that what he does, but that's another example. On our newest track, plug, we wanted a speak and spell kind of sound, and you hear vocoder a lot in our genre. And you hear vocoder, like the way you do vocoder, Carl, is very different than how other people are doing it. You tend to hear like kind of almost like this robotic vocoder being, or use it for the distortion. That's really how Skinny Puppy gets a lot of that. It's that vocoder harmonizer, but vocoder not playing the notes, and then a lot of compression. But we wanted to speak and spell because the song is about being machines and AI and stuff, and that was the vibe we're going for. But we didn't want it never could quite work, no matter how we chopped up the words, because you can't get the speak and spell vibe right the way it enunciates. And so we're chopping it up a lot, having to put it through some of the same effects to get the distortion, mix in whispering below it. And I know with FLA, with Frontline, some of the breakdowns they do on the vocals for those songs, you got that heavy, obvious vocoder effect that he uses, the layered harmonizing that's going on. But really what you're not hearing that makes that song too, it gives it the emotion and the impact, is a whispered layer that's underneath it that doesn't really stand out. So sometimes it's taking each one of those things like you're talking about and getting that subtle dynamic, and kind of, especially in this type of music, if people don't feel like they can jump to something, maybe that's a stepping stone to kind of getting there.
I think I'm going to issue I will issue a challenge, and that is make a list of everything Bill Lieb and Ogre does, and don't do them. Make a list, because as a genre, we are falling back on these same tropes all the fucking time. And what's really shitty is that, are the artists going, we're doing this because it's the expectation of the audience? Or are the audience going, we're expecting it because it's what all the artists do? Or what? So, because I think that it's and you said something before where you did something for shits and giggles and people, wow, what the fuck's that? That's awesome. Do it. Because you've got to, your mind, when it is free, is you're going to make you've made crazy fucking music when you go fuck it. I say push it. And if you've got a vocoder, use it in a way that Wendy Carlos would have used the fucking vocoder, or someone else. It's time to go crazy. Leonard Cohen, yes. Okay, Razi, talk to me. But thank you, Eric. I don't want to take away from anything you just said. Thank you. And use those things, but push it. Razi, talk to me.
There's no way I'm going to get my head around all of the things that this brings up for me that I'm thinking and want to articulate. But there's some history and there's some pushback on the Ogre that I want to make. And I think all of it comes down to appropriateness for the lyric and the character of the moment of the song. And Ogre and Blixa Bargeld are unimpeachably masterful at using different aspects of these vocal fries and distortions and different onsets and the glottal stops and screeches and wails and bringing those into the soundscape of the tortured message that they're delivering in that moment. And they don't have to do it. They can deliver a speech level monotone when it's appropriate. And they both sing when it's appropriate. And I think they have a lot in common on those things, but yet very different textures and spiritually different, I would say, coming from different places. But I like this analogy of they're sort of taking the mantle from what Kate Bush and to a lesser extent Bowie did, where metaphorically, like Waking the Witch, Kate Bush, interrogator, victim, priest, characters, masks that she was wearing and moving through these characters, and she was wearing these personae, and I think Bowie did that through his career too, whereas the damaged, pained vocal generally sounds of Ogre and Blixa are damaged wounds. They're exemplifying their pain through doing something that's physically destructive to the vocal cords. And I think even Jane's Addiction and Chester from Chester Bennington died recently. What band is that? Anyway, they make these sounds, and Trent Reznor too. They make these distortion sounds that sound like roughness and pain, and you don't make those noises unless there's something wrong. But they don't stick with them, and they don't use them 100% of the time. And although they are signatures and hallmarks, they deploy them in service of the anguish of the moment, and they let them go. And in the case of Skinny Puppy and Eine Stürzende Neubauten, they, through moment to moment, they can, even in the middle of a phrase, deliver pauses and emphasis and drama through these wounds and sounds that it's like, there's something to that also, aside from don't do these things that Ogre does, because everybody in industrial does them. But I don't think, Carl, as you were saying, I don't think that they're deployed successfully in a lot of cases, and I think they're just not deployed in service of the emotion of the moment in the song nearly as much as what these examples do. I'm going to stop there, but there's a million other thoughts that come to mind about these singers.
I think yes, and I think listen to more music outside the genre. That's what I think. Yeah. Ivan, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, as soon as you get slightly out of the genre, like, you're going to start getting really good examples of using the vocal to not just like vocalize you want to vocalize the story and use your voice as an instrument to tell the story. Like, you just go back and listen to some good old fashioned Christian death, and I mean Christian death, not Christian valor. He's good too, but like, I gotta make fun of him. Like, he really did a great job of using his voice to convey the meaning of the particular lyrics that he was working through. And like, there's a lot of that not going on these days, and maybe we need to get better at it again.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, this is a part of the experimentation that's fun. And the thing about your vocals, and we're going to call this soon, but the thing about your vocals is that it's the hardest fucking instrument because it's where you are the most vulnerable. And everybody hates their vocals, and they go, my fucking vocal sucks. And one of the greatest fucking vocal takes I've ever fucking heard was Henry Higgins in the movie My Fair Lady, and he couldn't sing for shit. But he nails it in that, and you listen to him, he can't sing. The actor couldn't sing. When the actor signed the contract, it's under the premise that he didn't have to sing because he couldn't sing. Like, he can't fucking sing. But you hear him in that song, and you get to the end and you go, oh wow, he didn't sing any of that. He kind of like talked and whined and joked and laughed. It's fucking brilliant. So throw yourself into the joy of taking a big fucking risk, cooking without the recipe on your voice. Razi, what are your thoughts?
I think to continue your show tunes thing, Murray Head and Ian Gillan in the original score on Jesus Christ Superstar have a similar sort of passionate, appropriate range of deliveries. Where I mean, obviously they're great rock tenors, but there's so much dirt in those recordings and so much first takiness of, or at least ensemble recordingness of those particular takes, where there's cracks and breath running out and things like that that are represented in the recordings, that you can hear the humanity of it.
Yeah. Vulnerability, baby. I'm gonna leave it here unless anybody has anything they want to throw in. I'm gonna leave it on this song. This is by the Divinyls again. This is a really like standard Aussie rock song. I think they wrote this, I'm not sure. The third verse is brilliant because she just goes through the alphabet. It's fucking amazing. I want you to listen to this song. This is what I want you to listen to, is that there's a male vocal who was the guy who wrote was the co-writer. Chrissy and this guy, I think his name was Mark, wrote everything. Brilliant songwriting team who tried to kill each other on several occasions. He sings the first verse. And he's got a great voice. He's got a great rock and roll voice. But Chrissy comes in and she fucking obliterates him because of how she is using her voice, what the fuck she is doing with her voice. And it is like, it's I'm not going to say genius, but it's amazing because it's a completely different thought process of what I can do with my voice, because Chrissy didn't give a fuck and she owned it. Listen to that fucking track. Take notes of what she's doing. And the last verse where they just go through the alphabet is the greatest fuck off. It's the greatest fucking fuck off in rock and roll history. So I'm not actually sure if they actually wrote that one, but just listen to the fucking vocal delivery. Does anybody else want to throw in anything else? And the point of that is make notes and you utilize stuff. Like at the end of a word, of a phrase, she'll go up. She'll go up into the falsetto. Try that. Yeah, she's singing like she's about to turn into the Hulk. Fuck, she was a demon live, man. So this is the Art of Rock. We're doing this every week here. It's on Angelspit's Twitch. It's also on Angelspit's YouTube. Please join us. It's amazing. It was made possible with Angelspit's Patreon. If you've got $3, I'd be grateful. If not, so much of this shit is free. The new album is Red End. It's on Bandcamp now. I'm very proud of it. I hope you fucking like it. There's some music. It will all be on streaming shortly, so you can listen for free. There's some amazing music on Spotify. Go listen to it. That's a whole bunch of us. And if you're bored on Wednesday night, remember, Vulture Culture is going to be teaching us about synthesizers and how much Nords suck. Thank you. You're welcome. Razi, thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. And I just want to underscore, go listen to Red End, the new Angelspit stuff. It sounds fantastic. I have had the pleasure.
Thank you.
I can recommend it also.
Thank you very much. Today we were I do appreciate that. Brett joined us. Here's some of Brett's music. Adam was in the chat. There's some of Adam's music. Ivan was with us. There's some of Ivan's music. Kerry is normally with us. I hope the puppies are okay. There's Kerry's music. And this is Eric from Spank the Nun. There's some of Eric's music. Please go find some new music. And those bands really need to send me some tracks so I can put it on the Industrial Incisions playlist. Hey, also really importantly, most important thing is go look after Drake. If you got a couple of bucks, throw it towards Drake. We've got to look after Drake right now. We are going to fling on over to MTV TV, which is here. So we're going to raid. And if you've got a video, so Diana, if you could get that raid going, it's there. And if you want to bloody get your music on there, just send it to them. And listen to some Divinyls. Listen to something you wouldn't normally listen to. Listen to what the vocals are doing. Listen to what the music is doing. Yeah, always comes back to fucking Fleetwood Mac on this channel, doesn't it? We didn't even say Fleetwood Mac once. I was so impressed. Like, someone's going to say Fleetwood Mac. I was going, I'm not going to say Fleetwood Mac. We're going to hang back here and chat. This is going to be a good week, so get ready. And in case you missed it, good Die Young by the Divinyls. Jesus, what a track. I'm glad you liked it, Rosie. Good stuff.
Yeah, lovely tune. They had me at Rotor Toms and Simmons SDS8 pads in the second shot in the video.
And he's using a Pro 5. Using a Pro 5. And it was really interesting. Normally in Australia they had Roland gear. And if you had an American synth, it was a status thing because Japanese synths were kind of cheap to get to Australia. That's why Australia's full of Jupiter 8s. Whereas American gear was really hard to get in. So if you had an Oberheim or a Moog or a sequential, it was a big status symbol because you could fucking get that shit because it was super expensive. Hey, have we rated?
did.
All right, you rock.